He stood before the very men who had shattered his life. The same brothers who once plotted his destruction now knelt before him, their faces lowered in desperation, asking for mercy, asking for grain, asking for survival. And they did not know him, but Joseph knew them. He knew every voice that had once laughed while he cried, every face that once turned away as he begged from the pit, every moment of silence when his tears meant nothing to them. Now those same men stood powerless before him, and Joseph had power. He could end their story with a single command. He could repay every wound. He could make them feel, in one moment, everything he once endured over years. But something in him held him still, and the question hung in the air like a weight that could not be seen but could not be ignored. Would he become what they had been to him? Or would he become something else entirely? This is Joseph, betrayed, forgotten, broken, and yet chosen by God. Joseph was only 17 when his story began. He was the beloved son of Jacob, the child of his old age, the one wrapped in affection that his brothers could not ignore. Jacob gave him a robe beautiful, richly colored, a visible sign of love that set him apart. And without saying a word, that robe spoke loudly. He is favored, but favor, in the hands of jealousy, becomes fuel for hatred. His brothers saw the robe. They saw the attention. They saw the dreams in his eyes, and something inside them began to darken. Then Joseph dreamed. He saw sheaves of grain bowing before his sheaf. He saw the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowing before him. And when he spoke of it, something in his words only deepened their anger. To them, it sounded like pride. But in heaven's silence, it was prophecy unfolding. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers in the fields. From a distance, they saw him coming, and something inside them snapped again. "Here comes the dreamer," they said, not with curiosity, not with laughter, but with bitterness sharpened into decision. At first, they planned to kill him, but Reuben intervened, and instead of blood, they chose a pit. They stripped him of the robe, the symbol of everything they resented, and threw him into a dry, empty cistern. Darkness swallowed him, and there, alone in the silence, Joseph cried out, "Please, don't do this." But above him, there was no mercy, only indifference. They sat down and ate, while their brother begged from below. Then a caravan passed, and Judah spoke the words that changed everything. "What profit is it if we kill our brother? Let's sell him for 20 pieces of silver." Joseph was handed over, like an object, like property, like something that could be traded and forgotten. And as he was led away in chains, they took his robe, dipped it in blood, and carried it back to their father. Jacob saw it and wept until his voice broke. He believed Joseph was gone, but Joseph was not gone. He was only beginning. Egypt became his new reality. No home, no language of comfort, no family to call his own. He was sold again, this time to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. But something followed him into that foreign land that no chain could remove. The Lord was with Joseph, and slowly, what was broken began to prosper. Everything he touched began to rise. Potiphar noticed, and what began as servanthood turned into responsibility, then trust, then authority. But just as life seemed to stabilize, temptation entered the story. Potiphar's wife saw Joseph and desired him. She spoke to him repeatedly, pressing him into compromise. But Joseph refused. "How can I do this and sin against God?" And when she grabbed his garment, he fled, leaving it behind. But innocence does not always protect from accusation. False words were spoken, and Joseph, who had done right, was imprisoned for it. And so the pattern continued, from favored son, to slave, to prisoner, and now silence. Years passed inside stone walls. No explanation, no rescue, no apology, just waiting. And yet, even there, Scripture quietly says again, the Lord was with Joseph. Even in the place that looked abandoned, God had not left. Joseph found favor even in prison, trusted with responsibility among prisoners. Then came to men with dreams Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker. And Joseph said something simple but profound. Do not interpretations belong to God? He spoke what was revealed to him. One would be restored, one would die, and it happened exactly as he said. But when Joseph asked to be remembered, he was forgotten, and the prison door remained closed. 2 more years passed. Then Pharaoh himself dreamed dreams no one could explain. Cows rising from the Nile, grain consumed by grain, confusion across Egypt, and suddenly, memory returned. The forgotten man in prison was remembered. Joseph was brought out, washed, shaved, changed, and stood before Pharaoh. And when asked if he could interpret dreams, Joseph answered with humility, "I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer." And he did. He revealed abundance coming, and famine following it. He advised preparation, wisdom, foresight, and Pharaoh saw more than interpretation. He saw leadership, and in a single day, the prisoner became ruler under Pharaoh. A ring was placed on his hand, authority was placed on his shoulders, responsibility over a nation placed into his hands. The pit had not defined him, the prison had not ended him, and the past had not buried him. Years later, famine spread across lands, and Joseph's brothers came down to Egypt seeking food. They entered the court and bowed, exactly as the dream had once shown. But they did not recognize him. Joseph did, and something inside him trembled, not with anger alone, but with memory. He tested them, he watched them, he listened, and when they showed concern for Benjamin, when Judah offered himself in sacrifice, something changed. The brothers were no longer the same man, and Joseph could no longer hold back what had been buried for years. He wept, and in a voice that carried both pain and release, he spoke, "I am Joseph." Fear filled the room. They expected judgment. They expected revenge. They expected death for what they had done. But Joseph said something different. "Do not be afraid. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." And in that moment, the story was not rewritten, it was revealed. He forgave them. He embraced them. He brought restoration where there had only been fracture. And so Joseph's life speaks still. That betrayal is not the end. That delay is not denial. That pain is not wasted, because what was meant to destroy you can be used to shape you, and what others intended for harm, God can turn into purpose. So, if you feel forgotten, overlooked, or delayed, remember Joseph. He was not abandoned. He was being prepared.